All right, lads, we're back. Me and Gavin, after going on a 3-week hiatus, realistically, both of us were on vacation. We had no time to record. We recorded a podcast. I didn't edit it. I was too lazy. It was Spider-Man Brand New Day, and we literally said, hey, we're going on vacation. We're probably not going to make an episode in 2 weeks. We didn't end up doing it. And that's on me. I got to be better. I have to be better, Gavin. But we had a nice little break. We're rejuvenated. We did a double feature today. I'm hyped up. We saw a couple of good movies. But I'm not hyped up, Gavin, because your favorite genre.
I'm hyped up. I'm thrilled. Well, I couldn't be more thrilled. Go ahead. I don't want to ruin this moment for you.
Your favorite genre, the horror genre, is making a comeback. And it's bringing people into theaters. And we went, and I've been putting this off for 3 weeks, honestly. I could have saw it on vacation. I could have saw it by myself when I came back. Thank God I didn't see it
by the way. I mean, it is what it is, but carry on.
I had a 10 p.m. showing to go see this movie, and I bailed so hard. I was an hour and a half early, and I walked into the theater thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to chill an hour and a half. It was already playing. I was like, I can't do this. We went and saw probably one of the best. I would say it's definitely top 3. I mean, there hasn't been that many horror movies. There's been a lot of horror movies, but it is definitely top tier, maybe top 5 movie of the summer, Weapons. And it was fantastic. I loved this movie theater experience too because me and Gavin were by ourselves.
An elite thing to be by ourselves in a movie theater for a horror movie that's actually scary. 28 years later, not scary. Well, not truly scary. Bloodlines, not scary. Entertaining, but not scary. This was the first true horror movie experience we've got. And we got to be alone in the theater for it. I mean, how fantastic. And just to confirm for all of you who are curious, he did yell loudly quite a few times. It was actually everything I could have hoped for and a little bit more. It was great.
I couldn't contain myself. I mean, honestly. And the funniest part was when I walked into the theater, I just go, yes! Because I was so hyped because I did not want to just sit there dying in a horror film of this like magnitude. And this movie was really good. The introduction throws you into a little bit of a lull. And I was saying that out loud in the theater with you. I was like, oh my, this is one of the like most poetic, but like horrifying and twisted intros ever. The background music is like this chill vibe sort of song. I need to look up what that song is because that was honestly a great song. But it was a very twisted, great movie, horror movie. But yeah, I mean, what did you think of it? I mean, you're the horror expert. I thought it was an awesome and good time, especially with us being by ourselves in the theater. But I want to hear your thoughts first, and then I'll kind of like bounce off of what you have to say.
Yeah, you know, the first thing that I thought of when I went to go see this, and it was actually something that my sister had asked me because we both see horror films all the time. She's a big horror movie person as well. And the first thing that she asked me was, well, what do you like better, 28 Years Later or Weapons? And honestly, I still think that I haven't decided because both are really great. But the thing about Weapons that really sets it apart from a lot of the other horror films and a lot of the other stuff that's come out this summer is the storytelling and the way they tell it. So, I mean, you highlighted the beginning. You see the kids running out of these homes, you know, their arms are all stretched out. It's all crazy. They've got this weird soundtrack playing and it's kind of horrifying, but also like a really lighthearted song. And
funniest way to run.
We're a couple degrees back from a Naruto run. And
literally,
and then you go into the actual storytelling and you get chunks of the story from each different character's perspective. You know, you start out with Justine's and then you go to, Archer's, and then you get Paul's, and then you get Alex's, and then their stories all kind of mold together to give you one kind of epic epilogue. but it's such a unique way of telling the story because you get so many different pieces. So you're getting information the whole time, but you're also not spoiling any of the movie. With every bit of information they give you something new and interesting and almost kind of cliffhanger-esque before they jump you right into the next person's perspective and you go back, a day or more in the other person's perspective. And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really unique, and it's not something that we get to see out of horror films very often, where you get so many unique perspectives that all lead into one story. It's usually from a group perspective or from a singular perspective. So I really enjoyed that. The tenseness of the movie was good. The horror of the movie was good. The lore was really good. I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was one of the better horror films of the summer, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, immediately when they bring up the title card of each character, and even Justine is the first one that pops up, I'm immediately like, let's go, because I kind of like how it's like a bits and piece, like, of different perspectives storytelling. Those are some of my favorites because this story changes each time, and you see each character deal with it in deal with, their kid missing, or Justine, the teacher, seeing how she deals with it and how people are reacting to, like, her being, like, the main focal point of, you were the teacher, you were responsible with these kids, how can you allow this to happen? And you just see sort of everything unravel in such a creative way. And then by the end of it, I mean, we're both locked in. And by the end of, like, when everything starts to unravel, everything comes together so well. And I think that's what I love the most. Cinematography and editing was on point. I mean, there was multiple times in the theater where I'm just like, that is a fantastic edit. And, I'm already curled up into a ball. I'm putting my t-shirt halfway over my face, and I'm just scared out of my mind. But there was a couple of jump scares on here, but mainly just, you're looking at a still shot and you obviously know something's going to happen. And I want to talk about this particular scene because it really freaked me out. I mean, I started just freaking out the whole entire time. Was when Justine is basically stalking Alex, which was, we both were kind of just laughing. It's like, I can't believe you're stalking the one kid that is a suspect of this whole entire case, with witch on the side of her car painted.
She wasn't inconspicuous. You have big red letters on the side of your very recognizable SUV because the entire school saw you leave in it the night that they held the like mental health conference or whatever at the beginning of the movie, and you've got it in big red letters on the side of your car, witch, and you're out about town just it's stalking a third grader, and also like showing up at the liquor store and doing all this stuff. She's just inconspicuous the whole movie, and like, despite the fact that she takes this to the police station, doesn't ever get it removed either. I'm going like, dude, I'd be doing everything in my power to get that off the side of my car. And also maybe not doing stupid stuff like I'm stalking people.
No, facts. And you're kind of just, we both were laughing at it. We're like, plot hole, like, what are we doing here? This is just doesn't make any sense, but we roll with it anyways. And then Justine, she's an alcoholic in the movie, and we were kind of making jokes. I was like, oh yeah, what is she going to go with? And she goes with a vodka, water, and lemon. And it's just ridiculous.
That's psycho behavior.
Why?
That's psycho behavior. All right, listen, I respect everybody's right to like the drinks that they like, but absolutely, what are we doing? Vodka's not good. Adding a drop of lemon to it doesn't make it better, and adding water to it does not make it better either.
Water, like, as your chaser.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It was heinous. And then she's over here with like a big boy soda, and then she pours like
she's stalking people. She's pouring herself out of a brown bag. Like, that's gonna conceal the fact that she's putting vodka into a big gulp. Like, honey, you're in your car in a residential neighborhood pouring something from a brown bag into a big gulp, just sitting there for hours on end. Which, of course, led me to one of the best freakouts that you had in the movie, which is when Alex's mom comes out of the open
Oh my
house with
God.
scissors and is like jerking her way down the pathway to the car. And, oh, dude, listening to you during the scene was actually better than watching the scene, because she comes up to the window. And Brett's just sitting there going, oh my gosh, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And then you see her disappear from the frame and hear the car door open, and he goes, oh no. And I was like, dude, it was so good. But because I'm used to horror movies, I'm going to have you rate the horror in this movie. How did you feel about the horror elements of the movie?
Okay, I'm gonna give it, and this is no disrespect to the film whatsoever. I'm gonna give it a 7, and it's not necessarily a jump scary movie. Like, you are on the edge of your seat, but it's more or less very predictable. Some of the scares in this movie are very predictable. You can see the bodies kind of come up, or you can kind of predict when there is going to be a jump scare. But the horror itself of just how a character is getting killed, or how a character like movements are just terrifying. And there's a couple I'm gonna say an 8 actually, because the witch in this movie is actually terrifying. There's a couple, the forest scene with James when he's on heroin is wild to me, but like you talked about, that scene specifically and the cinematography of it was absolutely crazy. You're looking at the door frame, and the door, I felt they did a great job of just making like a still shot and giving it so much movement and so much impact. You can kind of just feel the pressure of the scene when it's like from a distance too. And I'm looking at this, it's dark. You somehow they kind of have the light enough to where you can still see the doorway perfectly. And then you see Alex's mom just emerge like perfectly from the shadows. And I'm like, I can't do this. The movements of the actors was really on point here. And the goriness of it was, when it did get gory and when it did take that leap, it went the extra mile. I would give it definitely an 8, because once the witch starts getting into it, and once that aspect of the story and you start to really get flesh out of like what's really going on here, and the demonic elements of it, it gets pretty wild. And I'm just sitting there kind of like scared the whole entire time. So I would give it an 8, to be honest. I mean, it was very horrifying in some moments, and I was kind of like stunned at certain points. But there's not too many like crazy jump scares.
It's not a huge jump scare movie. I put it closer to a 5 or a 6. And again, I'm more used to the genre, but the thing that it does really well is make you feel tense the entire movie. It's another thing that 28 years later did really, really well, was make you feel tense, put you into those moments of discomfort and I'm trying to find a better descriptor word for it, but discomfort's the best one I can come up with for now. So it's anxiety. Anxiety is another good one. Yeah, it's just, the witch she's not a big, powerful person, but Alex, knowing what she can do, she's twisted, she's manipulative, she is, when she goes to the principal's office, looking at her and going like, oh, well, she's kind of like a funny looking old lady, like, it doesn't really seem very intimidating. Like and, it's ridiculous. She shows up at his house and, his husband goes, well, gosh, we got to let her in. She just needs water. She's a sweet old lady, whatever. And, it's those kinds of things that really take it to another level. And a lot of the, like you described, the movement when the addict is robbing the house and gets knocked down into the basement, and all of the kids' heads turn towards him and see him. And that initial moment of anxiety just because of their movement, and you only see it for, half a second. But then he gets up and he's clamoring, he's putting everything back into his little pillowcase that he's robbing with. And then you see the parents stand up And in that moment, I mean, they're not doing anything crazy. They just stand up. But the anxiety that you feel and the stress of like, dude, you just got to get out of the house. Like you just need to leave right now. I don't even care, dude. Like you
Please,
just get
go.
out. And they do such a good job.
Dude was
of that.
stealing spoons. What are we doing? What are we doing? James is just over here stealing spoons. I'm like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Get your life together. Like, what is going on? I mean,
He's
I
here for
get
the
it.
pep
He's
talk.
an addict and everything, but I'm like, yo, steal something that of more relevance in a house than spoons and silverware. I'm like, what is going on? That was just another like stereotypical horror trope where I'm like, oh
no,
my
for
God,
sure. I mean,
get out of the house.
People in horror films are just notoriously stupid. But one of the other sequences that I really liked is when Brolin is walking in a dream and he follows his son back into the house. He turns him over on his bed and he's apologizing for not being able to find him. And then a light shines on his face and it's the witch, and he wakes up. And for the sake of keeping this podcast profanity free, he wakes up and yells an expletive. And I immediately turned to Brett and just said to him, that's you all season with every horror film that we're going to go see. And it's so accurate. It was a nice comic relief. It was still a scary moment, but it was so great.
It's so perfect too, because they go from this very scary moment and I'm just sitting there like, what the hell? Why am I seeing some witch with clown makeup on? Like some old lady that's creepy. And then Brolin just gives you the exact feeling that you're like in the theater feeling in that moment. It's just like, what the F is going on? It's so funny and it's great. And let's talk about Josh Brolin for a second. I thought he did a great job in this movie. I feel like Josh Brolin is going to have a great catalog for 2025. He's been in kind of a lot of stuff, and he's been doing a great job, and he's been doing a lot of different things. But I thought his role worked so well, and his perspective when they went to it, it took the story kind of another level, because his perspective kind of was an interesting one. And that he was like way more aggressive. He brought sort of the detective sort of work of it, bringing out the map. He was a realtor, so he knew the area very well. And he's like picking apart of where it's going to go. And then when him and Justine kind of link up and then they put aside their differences, it was great character development from like his point. And I think Josh Brolin is just one of those actors. Every time I see him on the screen, he does a great job. And he's also an executive producer of this. Anything he touches and any idea I feel like he has, especially with like Denis Villeneuve, or if he's working with a director that he likes, it takes the story to another level. I just have to give a shout out to Josh Brolin in this. We all know he's like a great actor, but to do a completely different genre and something that I don't think we're familiar with, like seeing Josh Brolin in horror genre like that much. So seeing him kind of take this movie like an extra mile and kind of elevate it was really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, talking straight out of my behind here, because I don't know his filmography well enough to tell you he's never been in a horror film before. So I'm not going to say that he hasn't. Seeing as many as I've seen, I don't recall him being in any horror films to my recollection. So it's great to see him branch out to this genre. I didn't know that he was doing as much work as a producer as he's doing, and he did an awesome job of producing this movie. And not only did he bring an interesting character perspective to it from the ones that you mentioned, but he also does a really good job of playing the motivated but tortured parent of somebody who's lost their kid, who doesn't have answers, who is kind of trying to keep things as simple as he can in getting his son back, but also having to deal with the fact that he's waking up every single day and his kid's not there. And as a dad, he wasn't able to do anything about it. So I think he did a really good job. And Julia Garner, she most recently in a film that we saw was The Silver Surfer, and she did a great job doing that. Obviously, it's not much of what she actually looks like because there's so much CGI that goes into her costume, but she still did a good job. And in this one, she does a fantastic job. She has so much range in her character. She lets her emotions play on her sleeve very well. She weaves in and out through the different modes of, sometimes she's a teacher, sometimes she's a struggling alcoholic, sometimes she's a home wrecker, and she plays everything really great, but allows the care in each of these situations to still shine through her character, which is really the big motivator for Justine, is that she cares. And she probably cares a little too much, because you shouldn't be stalking people, and you also shouldn't be stealing other people's husbands, and whatever. But she does a really fantastic job of bringing her character to life. And I think that it lends really well, and that the chemistry between Brolin and Garner, especially when they start interacting a lot more on screen, is really important, because they're opposite sides of the coin here. And if they don't work really well together, then it could be kind of a subpar performance, but they bounce off of each other really well, and it works to a great degree to increase the validity of the story and how your emotions are brought into it from the perspective of the teacher, from the parent, and both of them just trying to figure out what actually happened.
Yeah, and honestly, you're starting to, I think people are going to start respecting her as, listen, she's not going to be a typecast anymore. You're not going to be, Julia Garner is going to be just known for being Silver Surfer and Fantastic Four anymore. She's honestly going to be more known for her role in Weapons, in my opinion, than it is in Fantastic Four. And I get it. More people are going to go see Fantastic Four. I understand that. But if you watch Silver Surfer and then you watch Weapons, you're going to be more impressed with Julia Garner's performance in Weapons, because like you talked about, the range, how she shows the character struggling with whatever she's dealing with, alcoholism, dealing with the issues that she's dealing with, 17 students in her classroom, all the kids disappear. And she does a great job of carrying that weight. And, anybody that would go through a struggling situation like that, what they would go to kind of numb the pain or kind of just deal with it. And also the frustrations too with, Paul, one of the characters that ended up being he was the definition of a side character, but ended up having kind of an important role in sort of the development of the story and the plot and everything. But, seeing their relationship and then seeing those two characters grow was also very interesting to see. But I was really impressed with Julia Gardner's performance in this. I think Josh Brolin and Julia Gardner really carried this movie. Obviously, where is it? Amy Madigan did a great job as the witch as well. She did a great job of being twisted and, bringing this kind of witch element to it, and just being, the twisted factor of it was kind of crazy to me. I mean, seeing her character just not care that somebody's literally headbutting somebody else's face into mush, and then she's over here just cleaning off. I'm just gonna say her what is it? Her ritual stick or whatever.
Yeah, it's the stick from her ritual tree. I mean, she's finished performing her ritual, and she's kind of just tidying up and goes to prepare her next ritual, and she's moving on. Or the other scene where I thought she put in a really good performance was when she's sitting down with Alex and explaining that he's got to not tell anybody because she can make the parents hurt themselves, and then snapping the twig and just standing there stone-faced as they're stabbing themselves in the face with the fork. And it seems like a little thing, but her emotions and what's going on menacing. In her face, it's so menacing, and it's powerful to the point where you're like, dude, she didn't blink She didn't blink at all. And you can feel that presence from her that makes it a much more grabbing performance. I mean, it really lends to the villainous wickedness of the character.
And also just how people get controlled is, I like how complex it is, how she needs for some reason she needs a strand of hair, or she needs like a particular like piece of DNA to like create these spells to control people, and then seeing her do the process, I feel like that's something that, you know, in horror films often like doesn't get explained, or we're kind of just like it led to just believe like what's going on. You can actually see her process and see what she's doing and see how she's controlling people, and then it has an impact on Alex.
It
plays
has an right impact into the story
on the third act of the film.
I mean,
and you're just like, let's go. Like, that's hype. That's amazing. I love that.
It's not just for our benefit, it's for the story's benefit, and they weave it so well into the story that when that twist ending comes, you're like, oh, all right, cool. So he was paying attention to, I know he knows. And it leads to, it's one of the more horrifying scenes and comical scenes in the entire movie.
Yes.
Everybody loves to see the witch die at the end, except in, like the one where you're somehow rooting for the witch. But there is something truly satisfying about just seeing the panic set into her face when she hears the twig snap and the pounding of 17 children's feet coming up the stairs. And we commented on this while the scene was happening, but maybe one of the best shot scenes of the movie is following the scene of the primary girl chasing her from behind, and it's fantastic. You see her busting through windows and walls and all sorts of things before the triumphant tackle, and the other 16 kids get there and just absolutely tear her apart, which releases the spell on everybody else. And it's a great twist ending. It's horrifying. It's almost comical because she's running through people's houses and people's yards just the whole way. It's great.
I love it too because it gives you a different perspective. It's your stereotypical like chase sequence of like, we're going to give you multiple views so that you get like the full feel of this chase sequence. And I just love how they take the wide shot still and then they run and then 17 kids run. She's like the lone like one screaming and then 17 kids just full dead sprint are running after her.
The guy mowing his lawn was my favorite. He's just stopped mowing and then all of a sudden you see the 17 kids coming across the yard and he's just like, Or the dining hall. I mean, a family's just chilling, having dinner. There's a person watching TV, and then these kids are just 17 kids just go straight through these like these windows, and it's just, I'm like, oh my God, this is ruthless right now. They're climbing over fences. It was a great scene, and I kind of compared it to, I'm like, wow, this is just a horror version of Thor Love and Thunder. I mean, this is hilarious. I love it so much. But it was done so well because, like we talked about, they build it up. They build up the relationship between Alex and the witch. And then when Alex is like processing all this information, and they establish that this kid isn't like, he's a quiet kid that gets bullied a lot, but he's one of those quiet kids that is very intelligent, knows what's going on around him. And, you know, when things start to build up and things start to get crazy and chaotic, I just love that he knew exactly what to do and knew what he was doing. When he steps over the salt on purpose, runs into certain rooms, understands that he also sees the wig. He saw the wig when the witch was staying over his aunt. So he knows where all of these things are and how he's going to do it. And it's just a very interesting thing. And I love that dynamic of the story. And it just made the third act like all that much better. Some people may be like, what is this, bro? We were looking at a very serious horror film. And now this is kind of like comical in a way. But I love it because they were building up
to that sequence, and the suffering that Alex had to go through for months on end. I mean, they kind of take a hint at it in the beginning. You know, they're like, they're saying like Alex is just dealing with it. He's just processing everything that's happened, and they're giving you little bits and pieces. But then when Alex's perspective comes onto the screen, you feel automatically so sympathetic for this little kid. But like the maturity that he shows in the third act is so cool, and I love it so much because it just gives him power, and it's amazing. And you know, that was such an enjoyable like sequence, and I was like, oh my god, I gave it a round of applause like in the middle because obviously it was just us, and I was just clapping the whole entire time. It was great.
All right, so question for the summer. We're gonna just for anybody who's listening, we're capping summer horror movies here. Fall horror movies start after this review is posted. So between all of the horror movies that we've watched this summer, which is our body horror film Bloodlines, 28 Years Later, and now Weapons, which one was...
It's 4, right? Yeah.
Let's rank them 1 through 4 for your summer horror movies.
I mean, oh my god. Okay, I'm going to go from top down, okay? 28 Years Later holds a special place in my heart. I gave that movie an 11 out of 10. I thought it was one of the best movies I saw of the year. I mean, it is so good. And by the way, we are making a preview for the trailer
dude, I saw
that came out
trailer.
for the second
Holy
movie.
smokes,
yeah.
Don't worry. We will be talking about that. It looks insane. We're going to get into it.
This is how you... Yes, but that is how you restart a franchise, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you create a movie, get the hype, and then you make a second movie, and then you're ready to go. You're already in production.
It's out in January. It's amazing. It's great.
It's amazing. I felt like I just talked about that movie like freaking a month ago. It's awesome. So, but 28 Years Later is definitely up there for me, and then I'm gonna have to go with obviously Weapons. Weapons was a great movie. We haven't rated it. Obviously, we'll give our scores after we rate all 4 of these movies, but I love the Weapons. I mean, I love the story. I love I love the plot. I love the powers and like the witchcraft in it, and I love all the characters too. The characters were I was kind of locked into what these characters were going to do and how they were going to get out of these certain situations and how they cope. And I thought the character development was awesome. So I think Weapons was definitely the second. I'm going to have to go with Bloodlines. I mean, Bloodlines, me and you were in the theater by ourselves. It's kind of baffling to me that we watched Weapons and Bloodlines by ourselves in the theaters. But both of those theaters experiences were so fun. And I will never forget. That's one of the best moments I've had with you watching a movie was when we were like, the penny at the end of Bloodlines. Oh my gosh,
I love the penny. God. The penny holds a special place in my heart.
It's so funny. I mean, and we both were like, wait, is this really a Final Destination movie? They survived and then they end up dying at the end. It's so great. So, I mean, just by a small margin, in my opinion, just because Weapons is a more serious movie and it's not necessarily so ridiculous, but Final Destination Bloodlines was awesome to watch. I loved it. And then Together is 4. I mean, Mac had the most highest rating and praise.
I still don't get it why.
You guys should have saw our group chat. It was so funny.
Tearing him to shreds.
Listen, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen by any means. It's a good movie, but it's the most stereotypical horror film you're gonna watch.
With anything else we've watched this summer. It just doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't. And the body horror is really good, and I think it's really good. And I understand where people come from, where it's kind of like this next level thing. When it comes to body horror, but like realistically, it wasn't anything that I like hadn't like not seen before or like didn't get freaked out by. There were some scary moments, but I thought overall, like even as a story, you're kind of just like, this is the most stereotypical tropey freaking horror movie ever. So
The body horror movie I'm waiting for is Clayface. That's gonna be the body horror movie of the year.
We're superhero fans, but I saw a couple pictures of that. It looks
terrifying.
Just seeing how seriously they're taking that movie on that set. I mean, everybody takes a movie seriously on the set. Like, that's a pretty obvious thing to say. But I hope DCU brings because that is kind of a different element. Marvel thought they were gonna, oh my god, with the Doctor Strange movie, Multiverse of Madness, they were like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a horror. It was not a horror film. Like, get out of here. There was tropey horror aspects to it, but it was not a horror film. Get out of here. I hope that DCU goes hard in the paint with body horror and that, and I hope they really push the limits. I hope they really push the limits in that movie. And so, yeah, that's like my top 4 for sure. And there's plenty more. I mean, there's a couple more trailers for horror movies that like I'm really excited for. Obviously, The Conjuring
is going to be great.
Listen, I'm not...
my number one anticipated movie of this fall, as far as horror films go, is The Conjuring. It's going to be great. All the Conjuring movies are great. Brett's a little worried he's going to be terrified, and I want to sit here and tell him that he has nothing to be concerned about, but it is the first R-rated film in the entire franchise.
It's over, man. I'm going to be
I am anticipating being terrified in that movie, and if I'm anticipating being terrified, I don't really feel I can offer the kind of assurances that he's looking for. But it's going to be a good fall of horror films. I have the same ratings for my 4. Together is easily the worst of the summer. Bloodline's just barely below Weapons because they're different movies completely, but Weapons does have a better story. And 28 Years Later, especially with the sequel to 28 Years Later coming out in January, it's just so good. And I can't wait for that sequel. So that's my second most anticipated horror film of the upcoming season, and it's going to be great. But for the moment, before we get too off track, what's your score for Weapons?
Oh, it's going to be a 9.3. I loved it. I mean, I honestly loved it. I have really very little complaints for this movie. I mean, there's like, I think the horror could have been a little bit more. I mean, it's just coming from a person that gets very scared easily. I thought, you want me to give it like up to like 9.8, like 9 point, damn near giving it a perfect score. I think the horror could have been a little bit more. But if we're just talking about a good, everybody from its goriness, its twistedness, if that's even a word, but I love the movie. I mean, 9.3 for sure. I thought it was one of the best movies. Are we even in summer now? Are we in fall? I have no idea, but it was definitely one of the best movies of the summer and one of the best movies of the year for sure. A lot of people watched it. I mean, I walked into kind of a packed. There were some people watching the 10 p.m. showing, so it's kind of crazy. But I'm so glad we got to enjoy that movie, just like us in the theater. I get it. I want people to come to the theaters too. But if you guys don't want to come to the theater and just allow us to freaking watch these great movies by ourselves, by all means, don't show up. Don't show up.
Yeah, it gives us a great preset for pre-podcast commentary. We got a lot of initial thoughts out of the way, and also for me, it's way more entertaining to watch Brett watch horror films when nobody else is there, so he has the ability to emote the way that he wants to. I think that's great.
You know how many times I was like, thank God we're watching this movie by ourselves. I
almost want to find a way for you to be able to watch The Conjuring in a theater with just you and I, because I feel like you're gonna really struggle.
That'd be so funny.
It would be great. I need to record it. Is what we need. That should have been our first video, but it would be great.
We'll definitely
we'll do some video reacts.
Watch along stuff. We'll do watch along stuff. I think that is definitely.
We have 8 other movies to get through.
I squirm when I watch horror movies. I literally curl up into a ball. I'm like when I watch The Witch. I was
have
done.
all the
I mean,
movies
The Witch
on
was
DVD.
one of those. The Witch was one of those horror movies where you're sitting there and you're just, what is going on? You're just constantly in a mental state of tense, like, energy, and I just, oh my god. I mean, you've gotten me so used to it now. I mean, I'm basically becoming a horror movie fan, but it's
You're
baffling.
welcome.
I can't
On
believe
my
it,
side of
but
things,
it's pretty.
9.3 as well. It was a great movie. Lots of good horror, great storytelling, great performances from actors and actresses, good cinematography, surprising but welcomed humor in the movie. Very thrilled with everything, and honestly, it wasn't a movie that was highly advertised. You had some things here and there, but it ended up being a huge deal, and I mean, I'm thrilled to say that it lived up to its potential. When people were coming up to me telling me that Weapons was the movie I had to go see in theaters, you never can totally tell how serious people are being when they talk about horror films that way. Most horror films are not must see in theaters. Thank you to the genre for giving us a plethora of films that are must go see in theater horror films this summer. And Weapons, congratulations, you are one of the must see in theaters.
It's up there for me, man. I mean, I'm not gonna it's probably, I'll spoil a little bit, but it's probably in my top 5 for the summer. I mean, I don't know. We've seen a lot of good movies this summer. This summer has brought us so much great content. I'm so glad that we got our A-stubs, AMC A stubs. I mean, it's
unsponsored
great
shout
to
out.
see.
We're not sponsored by AMC stubs, but also AMC hit us up.
Yeah,
but,
please. I wonder what my rewards are at. I want a free popcorn. I mean, this
sure
is ridiculous at this point. I saw 20 movies this summer.
But huge plus to AMC. $25 a month, 4 movies a week. I mean, we've seen every movie we've wanted to see and a handful of ones we didn't. It's been great. And on that point, we are going to be doing an end of the summer podcast where we go through our best of the best, worst of the worst, and some look forward to the biggest and best for the fall. So stick around with us for that. It's going to be great. It'll probably be a disaster where we bounce back and forth through topics. But as always, it'll be entertaining and lots more horror movies coming up. The Conjuring's next week.
My last thing I'll say, and I saw this on social media, but, you know, some people thought that 28 years later that the ending ruined the film. Guess what? Since the movie's coming out in January, I don't want to hear that. That is a perfect ending to the movie. You cannot even argue with me. People are like, oh yeah, what ending ruined the film, blah, blah, blah. I loved it. When those movies come out on streaming, you'll thank the producer. You'll thank Cillian Murphy. Okay? I just have to say that. This is obviously not the movie we're reviewing, but that was something I wanted to bring up about, like, these the people like, oh, it's a perfect movie, but it just ruined at the end. No, it's not. When you watch that first movie and then we go into the second movie and it's going to be another banner, and then we're talking about, could this be the greatest trilogy of all time? Then you can come talk to me. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, lads. Stick with us. We'll be back for another one very shortly because we got caught stealing, and we'll catch you on the flippity floppity.
Yeah. Catch you, lads.